Hey guys, Sam and Alex here from Top Tennis Training, and today we have a racket review for you.
Today we're going to review the Head Speed MP racket. Now this racket is used by Novak Djokovic, but the MP version is a slightly lighter version for the club player. We're going to review 3 rackets, all strung at different tensions.
So one is strung at 65 pounds, one is strung at 55, and one is at 45. So what we want to see is how does the difference in the string tension actually change what happens with the same frame.
Now both me and Simon are going to hit some balls, we're going to hit some serves, some ground strokes and some volleys with each frame, and then we're going to talk about it to see just what happens when we change from the lighter, so the looser string, into the tighter string. So 45, 55 and 65 pounds.
Now these rackets have been given to us by sweatband.com. So Alex, what did you think about the 65 firstly?
So the 65 I found to be a little bit too tight for me. It felt like it was really stiff when I was hitting the shots. It was sending quite a lot of vibrations through my arm. I felt it was quite good on the volleys just because I felt like I had quite a lot of control on the volley. And because I didn't have to generate topspin and power at the same time, it felt it was a little bit easier, and that's what gave me the best responses at the net. On the serve, the 65 felt like it was a bit too tight to get any power off it. And on the ground strokes, I mean, it felt okay to hit through the shot, but I just found it tough to get depth on the ball. So I'd say I'd probably go for a slightly looser restring. How did you find the 45?
45 was a bit too, it felt a bit, the sound was coming off was really like a thud. Did you experience that as well? It was like a thud. If you hit it off center, it really, you felt like it wasn't clean at all.
It's almost like the strings, they were moving, they were snapping out of place and snapping back in. Because the tension is not very high, the strings tend to move a lot more. And that movement of string, with certain type of string, especially with this one, it kind of creates a high-pitched sound that you hear during contact, that if you're not quite used to it, it can be quite off-putting.
It throws you off, exactly. At the net, the 45, even though the volleys were the best part I felt of this racket, I really felt the control at the net. The 45, you didn't really feel them as well as the 55 or the 65 at the net. And on the serve, the 45, it really didn't, you just didn't feel the ball really well. So for control on the serve, it'd be quite hard. I
actually found the 45 to give me quite a lot of power, so when I did go for it, if I got the ball in the middle of the strings and I went for a flat serve, so the flat, again, when I'm not trying to spin the ball or slice the ball, the flat serve actually gave me a really good response on the 45, just because I was able to get that power, and it was almost being used like a catapult. You know, the strings were coming off and then it was catapulting the ball forward. The moment I tried to add a little bit of spin or slice onto that ball, all of a sudden the strings started to move again. It gave me that kind of feeling that I'm not hitting it clean because of that sound. So I'd say if you are using a 45 tension restring, I'd say consider perhaps using a vibration dampener, because that could kind of dampen the feel a little bit, and perhaps that could be the best option if you're going for that looser racket.
And how did you feel about the 55?
For me, the 55 was the best all-round choice. Agreed. Just because it didn't really give me that high pitch as it did on the 45. It still gave me enough power to get the ball deep. it still felt great on the volley, and the serve was still okay, you know, so I didn't feel like I'd got quite as much power as I did on the 45, but the combination of power and spin and slice, and that's what you kind of need to use when you play tennis. You need to have a variety of serves that you can do with a racket. I felt the 65 would be kind of one-dimensional. I have to hit it as hard as I can. I have to hit it flat. I'm not able to generate anything else. What did you find on 55 for the volleys?
55 felt the best overall, like you said, so I agree 100%. The volleys with the 55 really felt nice. It felt really crisp coming off the racket, and you really felt what you were doing with the ball. It really gave you that feeling of control over the volley.
In terms of for the players out there at home, if they are stringing a tennis racket, what kind of tensions would you recommend for them to do?
I'd definitely go for between the 50 and 55 range, even a little bit higher, maybe 56. But I think below that, if you're playing with quite a loose string already, and the loose tension, you're going to really lose the control, and you're really going to start feeling that FUD that we felt with the 45. Above that, above the 60 range, is going to be a bit too tight, so you're going to have to work extra hard to get that power or that topspin.
I'd say for power players, the guys that really want to hit really hard and you feel like you're missing the ball, like the balls are all going long, that's the time to kind of restring a racket and make it a little bit tighter and go for that 60. I mean, not many players play with over 60, like 62 maybe I've seen some of the guys do, but those players tend to be the ones playing with a slightly heavier racket. Now this racket is not super heavy. Let me just check what's the weight on this racket. So it's 300 grams. Now 300 grams you would want to string at a kind of a mid-range looseness of string, because the moment you string it very tight, it tends to vibrate quite a lot. A heavier racket tends to go through the ball a lot easier, so because you're going through the ball a lot easier, all of a sudden you're getting a lot of depth. The ball's flying off the strings quite fast, so in order to reduce that and still give you a little bit more control, with a heavy racket, restring a little bit tighter. With a slightly looser, a slightly lighter racket, you want to go a little bit looser. It also depends on the kind of game style that you're playing. If you're playing a topspin game, so if you're a big spinner, you want to have a little bit looser the strings, because you want the strings to kind of grip the ball a little bit more, for the ball to stay on the strings for a bit longer before it comes off. If you're playing with a really tight one, the ball will come off really quickly. You won't feel like you got the grip that you needed on the ball, and because when you're spinning, the spin actually takes power away from the shot, because your energy is not going through the ball, you're going up on it, so the brush is taking up a lot of your energy. So if you're using a tight racket and you're hitting spin, you're not going to get the depth. The other players are probably going to attack you. Would you agree with that?
100%. So if you are looking for a change of racket, guys, go out, test this racket, but go for the mid-range on this kind of frame. So 55 pounds, around that zone, and see if it feels good for you.
In terms of balance, how did you find this racket? Was it head heavy? Did you find it?
It was quite a light racket for me. I'm used to a very heavy racket, so it felt really quite loose in my hand, quite very light. So for me, I wouldn't go for a racket this light. I'd go for the heavier version. But I guess for the club players out there, you have to go out and test it.
I guess it's balanced pretty evenly. So the heavier rackets tend to, the heavier the racket, if you go into the grip, so if the weight is in the grip, you're going to have quite a light head. You can have a heavy racket but a light head and you won't feel heavy. But sometimes you can have a slightly lighter racket with a really heavy head and you'll feel like it's actually quite heavy to swing around. So it also depends on where the distribution of weight is on the racket. And on this one it was quite even, wasn't it?
Balanced.
And because it's balanced, you know, it kind of, there's it's a very level playing field, you know, so it's a great racket to test out different tensions. That's why we picked it. That's why it's the racket of choice for Novak Djokovic, and that's why I recommend that you guys go out and have a look yourself. If you do like this racket, it's a very good choice.
So guys, thank you for watching the video, and also a big thank you to sweatband.com for providing these rackets for us to test out. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, click that like button, and leave a comment down below. Which racket do you play with currently, and are you looking at any new models that you might change to?